Welcome. I'm Crystal Cotto Sullivan, wisdomologist and your host of Journey to Inner Wisdom. In this episode of Wisdomology Book Club, we are very excited because you are in for a treat today. We will have a conversation about The Healing Stones by Gillian Andrews, who is a member of this book club. So, welcome, Gillian and Joanne.
Hi, it's nice to see you all. I'm pretty excited about what you have in store for me today.
Well, Gillian, this is your third book. So, I suppose the thing is, how did you, and Joanne, maybe you're going to ask this question too, but I'm just going to ask, how did you start writing before we talk about this particular book?
I think writing has always, been a part of my life on and off. Starting as a teenager, I made a conscious decision I wanted to be a writer. I don't know why. Maybe I think I liked English class. That's when I discovered. I even went to the guidance counselor to talk about what I needed to do to do that. And she didn't recommend any schooling or anything like that. So, like, what do I do? How do I make this happen? I had not a clue. But it wasn't until years later that um, I was staying home with my kids, and I wanted something a little more for myself. And I got this idea for a story, and it was a romance, and I just started writing. And one thing led to another, and I picked up Writer's Digest magazine, and I learned a lot about writing. And then I came across a correspondence course in writing that really excited me, and so, yeah, I took it and, I spent 2 years studying the writing process. And while it was a little overwhelming in the beginning, it eventually became like, I don't know, anything like brushing your teeth, I guess. You don't think about it anymore. You just know what you need to do and how to pull things together. And yeah, here I am still
Great,
writing. Yeah.
great. Joanne.
Well, I have a question on that. Um, this is your third book, and I've read all three. And I must say, to me, this book was the absolute best. I couldn't put it down. I decided that I wanted to read it so that I didn't get caught reading in a rush the week before book club. So I expected that I was going to just read some here and some here and some here, but I got going and I couldn't put it down. So
Hmm.
I finished it probably in less than a week. Um, every afternoon I had blocked off some time to read. So when I don't know if you can answer this or not, but which book took the longest to write
Hmm.
as far as the number of hours that you put into it and then rewriting, editing, dealing with the publisher, la la la. So were they all about the same in
Well,
time or
generally,
what?
it takes me about 4 years to write a book, but this new one, The Healing Stones, was the most stressful in terms of, getting it right. Because it's the first time I'd actually put it on Amazon myself. The first two times I went with Freezing Press. So, I had some backup, the checking it for editing and things like that. But this one, it was all on, well, I should say all on me, but not exactly all on me because I have some writer friends, one who is an English major who was checking it. So I editing over and over and over and over and over and over. And even when we were trying to get it on Amazon and getting it ready, I still was editing to the very
Hmm.
end. And I got to the point where I started to get a tick in my eye where it was getting kind of twitchy. I was so stressed about it. And I was so concerned that I went to the optometrist, and she said, "Oh, that's stress." I go, "Oh, okay, well, that makes sense." And and even after it was on Amazon, I just finished a whole bunch of venues and talks and launches. And I just did my last venue Tuesday. And when
Yeah.
I came home at 3 o'clock, I went right to bed. I slept
Hmm.
until 6. I got up, had dinner, and I was back in bed by 8:30, and I slept till 8 o'clock the next morning. That's
Wow.
how it all caught up with me. I just decided, like the next day, I had pickleball, and my pickleball friends were having a Christmas party. And I thought, I'm just going to enjoy that day,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
thank goodness I felt more rested where I could enjoy it. So that was like a
Sure.
celebration for me. It was
Mhm.
very challenging.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you did this book on published it on Amazon, were you responsible for doing all the formatting and you knew what
Mm.
size the final book was going to be and you had to do all the margins and set everything up? Is that right? And then you had to PDF the thing to them and then the colored copy was a separate thing?
I can't take credit for that because my friend Glenn, who is also a writer, he offered to help me do that.
Mm.
And he's done it before. And even for him, who's much more computer savvy than I am, it took him 3 books before he felt completely comfortable.
Huh.
And so, like, I sat with him as he went through the process, and I'll probably have
Hmm.
to sit with him again.
Yeah, yeah.
He's willing to go through it again. So
Uh-huh.
yes, you have to set
Hmm.
the font, the format.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you have the copyright.
Hmm.
Um, you have to decide what you want in that book and put
Yeah,
it all in.
yeah.
It's a ton of work.
Well, that was one of the things that I found most comfortable about it. Most of the time now I'm reading on my tablet,
Mhm.
but
Mm.
having the physical book in front of me, the font and the spacing and everything was so easy on the eye
Oh.
that it just kind of rolled along. And a lot of the books I find anymore, they obviously are not written for seniors because you're
Mm.
like
Mm.
this because the font is so tight together and it's tiring to read. But this
That's
this was really enjoyed it. And
that.
I did try to leave a review as well. And when I went to do that, I noticed there were already 3 reviews on the book, and I had my review all ready to what I was going to say, and it gave me this message that somehow it didn't qualify for reviews, or I didn't qualify. Maybe it's because I didn't order the book from Amazon. I don't know why that was, because I know they want them from verified readers. They don't want just anybody making something up.
It's
So
interesting
whether,
Hmm.
because the 3 people who did those reviews bought the books from me.
okay, so
Oh,
same
So,
as,
interesting.
and
yeah,
really, it
okay,
doesn't matter whether you buy the book from me. I bought the book from Amazon. So
right, yeah.
whoever buys it
Right.
from me has bought it
Mhm,
from
mhm.
Amazon
Yeah,
directly. So that you should be able to. And I've done it
yeah.
before.
Okay, well, I'll go and try again.
Yeah.
Maybe after it's up and running a bit, things change. But I also, looking at the book, I thought the cover was extremely intriguing. The cover, when you think of all the books that are on a shelf, when people go to a store to pick one, I thought the cover was uh, really interesting and really well done. And one of the questions was, did the cover mean more to you after you read the book than it did before? And I'd say, well, certainly yes, it did. It was,
Hmm.
yeah, that
Um,
was.
did the cover mean more to me
No,
after?
I'm saying the one of our questions here was,
Oh, okay.
after reading the book, did the cover of the book mean more to you than before? And I go, yeah, I guess it did. It kind of explained kind of explained everything, but it was very eye-catching.
Yeah.
So,
But that has always been my hope with the book cover. I wanted to make sure that people would recognize it as being mine from a distance. And I made a conscious choice after my first book that I wanted them all to be artistic.
Hmm.
So, my second book, Gifted to Learn, was um, a Tom Thompson painting originally. And this new one with the Healing Stones, my girlfriend, Sue Marentat, painted
mhm,
it. And Yeah, and it's really funny. I don't know if I told you the story about that, but when she asked me what I wanted on the cover of my book, I knew instantly. And I don't know why I picked a healing stone. I just know I wanted a stone circle, and I had no idea how that was going to help Cynthia to heal. That's something that came afterwards. It might be,
Interesting.
something, I don't know, mystical, a creative process that you just have to trust sometimes, or just maybe the mind just figures it out how to do it. But I love stone circles, and the idea for the orbs was something I read about. The people that actually seen orbs, and I thought, oh, I can use that. And so hopefully the orbs are intriguing to people. Also, they want to know what they are. The one downside, I think, to the stone circle on the cover is when they say healing stones, they think it's about stones that actually, I mean, these stones do heal, but you know the little stones you can buy in little shops.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, little stones like this one here, the little yellow citrine
Yeah.
in there. Yeah, I think people think they're about that. So on Amazon,
Mm,
if you type in the healing stones, that's where you go what
Yeah.
turns up. And but I kind of hope that maybe people will be intrigued enough, maybe a different audience will pick them up and think of healing stones as not just the little stones, but these
the
big
big
stone
one.
circles that do
Yeah.
have a lot
Yeah.
of mystery and magic to them.
It's interesting what you say about the knowing about the what you wanted on the cover before you even had the story. Often when I listen to authors and they talk about um, as they're writing, the characters develop themselves. You
Absolutely.
know, it's kind of like you're here you have this picture, you love the healing stone, and out of that then kind of flowed, maybe. I don't know,
Hmm.
did the story flow out of that picture, or how did the picture relate? How did you relate to the picture as you were writing?
Well, what I had to do was ask myself a few questions. I think
Hmm.
first of all, I need to know more about the stone circle. That's
Mm,
when I started doing the research, and that's when the idea of the orbs came up. And also, I belong to a site that's called I Love the Lake District, and a lot of people, post pictures of different areas of the Lake District, and one of them
hmm.
was around Keswick, where my story is set in that area, right by Castle Rig Stone Circle, that's on the cover of the
Mm.
book. And so I said, is anybody, aware of anything unusual happening there? And somebody said, well, dogs go crazy when they're there. I thought, oh, that's strange. There
Oh.
must be something. And then when I read, about the history and the possible purpose of the stone circle, and started giving me some ideas. Yeah, why couldn't there be magic there? I mean, they did magic rituals. I'm sure there's a lot of energy in those stones that are still there today. And I don't know about you, but many times when I've been in England, you go into a church, a graveyard, if you sense the presence of those before you, there is that energy there, and I feel that. And I'm sure that's true of a stone circle. And there's 2,000 years worth of,
Hmm.
energy there. So why not?
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
you're
Something else I kind of like to mention too, my books always tend to have some kind of spiritual aspect to
Hmm.
it. That just sort of comes out of me because I'm really fascinated with spirituality and things that we can't understand, only feel or intuit. Like my first book, a ghost kept visiting, the ghost of her dead husband kept visiting the main character, Grace, and Gift of the Loon. Maggie was visited by a wolf when she was out camping,
Hmm.
and that wolf she sensed it was Tom Thompson who had died, somebody who she loved. So I always like to add that. This is part of me, I guess.
so are you saying that the woman who did the um, cover did not read the book beforehand?
No, it wasn't finished. But what we did do what we did do, I mean, she knew a lot about it because she asked about my writing a lot. But what we did do is write it like she gives me my pedicures, right? So when she's asking me this, what I want on the cover, why she give me a pedicure, and when I told her and I knew what I wanted right away, I just started looking on Google, trying to find stuff, and so we found some pictures, and that took a few days, I guess, and then we said, well, we can't copy this, we have to make some adjustments, and so we did, and she did an amazing job. There wasn't a moment that I was upset or bothered or worried. She did exactly what I asked her to. It was just
Mhm.
amazing. The
It's a
clumps of
beautiful
grass,
picture.
I want them to be, look really grassy and clumpy. Yeah, and I was amazed at how she painted the stones, with all the little bits of I don't know, I don't want to say gravel, but they
The
look grass.
moss,
Pardon?
they look like they actually look like there's moss on them.
Yes, yeah, she was just phenomenal.
So I have a crazy question for you. Uh, do you develop the storyline first, or do you have this notion in your mind of this main character, and then you write the story for the main character, and then you
Yeah,
fill in with all the other minor characters, or how do you do this?
That's a
well,
good question. I like that.
I usually do start with a character. I mean, because, their story. Um, and then, um, and oftentimes usually I would say I know what that character wants. So I start from that. So it's when I start doing the research, the possibilities happen. Like I just started work on a new book. And I wasn't sure, like I had three ideas for my next book, and I didn't know which one to do. But I narrowed it down to two, and even that stuff. And I thought, I didn't know which one to do. They both sounded so great. I wish I could do them both at the same time. And I thought, you just got to sit down and start one. So I started the
Mm.
Newfoundland one because I wanted to write another Canadian story. And so I just started doing the research. And then, I felt like, oh my goodness, something is missing here. I need something more. And so I got out my angel cards, and my angel cards said that I was going to be writing a book. Can you imagine? I was going to be writing a book. It was going to take me a year to do the research, and that I would need to connect with the ancient ones. And as soon as that I saw the word ancient ones, I'd be writing about Vikings. And all of a sudden, I got this image in my head of a painting that I saw when I was in Bracebridge in October, and it was this woman, and she's got all this like really curly hair, and it's blowing this way, and it looks really like ancient crackling paper, and it's the kind of work that you do, Crystal, the multimedia stuff with
Hmm.
paper and paint and
Hmm.
fabric, and I just had to have it because I needed that inspiration, and it's a huge, huge painting. So I got in touch with the artist, and I said, I have to have that painting. So sent a deposit for her to hold it. Then my girlfriend Joan, who lives in Gravenhurst, is going to pick it up for me and bring it to Guelph so I can go pick it up. But I can't wait to get my hands on it because she is going to be, I decided she's going to be a priestess, a Viking priestess at the Lancer Meadows in Newfoundland. So this is the kind of magic that happens, Then I knew I was on the right path because I was starting to feel all excited and tingly. It was
Uh-huh.
hard to
Uh-huh.
sit still. I knew that I was
Uh-huh.
on the right track. So I'm happy again.
Oh,
So it makes me think about like it's so visual for you, it seems. Like it's almost like you can see the story unfold in your mind. Like when you're writing, do you actually visualize where the characters are and what they're up to?
Um, Actually, that is a process. I mean, I'm excited and I feel right about the fact that we have a Viking priestess. I don't know what she wants yet, but I know it's going to have something to do with feminine power because that's what I want to write about. That's the message I want to send to people. I don't know what that's going to look like right now, but I trust the creative process and it will come. And I'm thinking of, in 1962, I think it was, they first excavated the site where Lansing Meadows is. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to connect this woman in 1962 with this woman who's a priestess in 1000 AD? And how am I going to do that? Well, interestingly enough, there's the first thing they found at the Viking site in 1962 was a spindle whorl. Now, a spindle is a long thing that they wrap wool around. They spin it like this, and there's a whorl on the bottom, which I imagine is a way. It looks like a little donut. It's about this big with a little hole in. This
Hmm.
is what they found. Well, the interesting thing is the priestesses weave stories of people's lives. And I thought,
Hmm.
this is going to be the connection. And somehow there's going to be some magic in this world that's somehow going to connect them. I don't know how.
Huh, that's so
And
interesting.
pardon?
That's so interesting.
Yeah,
Just
so
to
it's
see it
exciting.
unfold. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly,
And
and that's
so,
exactly what it does unfold.
mhm. I guess back to the Healing Stones, when you were writing that, it sounds like there was that kind of unfolding as well. And also, I want to again ask about the visualizing because some people actually kind of hear the story as they're
Mm-hmm,
writing,
mm-hmm,
and some people feel it, and some people can actually visualize the story.
mm-hmm,
I tend to be more visual because I often, if someone's asking me a question, I look up because I see pictures. And so I'm just
mm-hmm.
wondering, do you see the story unfolding or do you hear it or is it more of an intuition for you?
I don't I don't know how to answer that exactly. Yeah, sometimes it feels like I have to be open. I think I do have to be open to something. Something will come to me. Like it's almost like it's outside of me. It's made a connection somehow. I don't see the
Hmm.
whole story right away. I
Hmm.
just let this cause and effect. When this
Hmm.
happens, then this can happen, and oh, how are they going to react to that? And based on that person, and it's more of an unfolding. I sometimes conversations come to me. Like you're having
Oh,
a
interesting.
difficult conversation, and so okay, how is this person going to react to this? So you start doing dialogue, and that's all you do, and just let it go back and forth and let it happen. Um, yeah, and sometimes you get it right, and sometimes you have to do it over and over before it feels like you're getting somewhere, like you're making contact and getting to the heart of the matter. And that was the struggle in this, getting to the heart of it. It was a difficult topic that I wasn't familiar with, not being able to have a child, and how is that going to impact on the marriage? And Crystal, you were very helpful when you said, well, this is a deal breaker in a marriage.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
hadn't known that, said, okay,
Hmm.
well, how's that going to impact? And how is he going to react? And certainly understandable that she's afraid to tell him because she's afraid he will leave.
Hmm.
Um, and they have a loving relationship, and as you said, even loving relationships, they can be a deal breaker. It's that
That's
important.
right.
That really
That's right.
added some extra dimension to the story, to my thought process doing that. And I knew that at some point these two would have to sit down and talk about this and how was her husband going to react when he found
Hmm.
out what was really on her mind. And I'm not going to share that, what that
No,
is.
but that's a pretty powerful section of the book for sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank you. Yes, yes. You made that possible, Crystal, because that really gave me some food for thought. But at the same time, I wanted, it's often the woman who makes the adjustment, and but I wanted the
Hmm.
man to make the adjustment in
Hmm.
this. I wanted
Hmm.
it to be different, and
Hmm.
so that was an interesting twist. I hope
Hmm.
what he was going to do. Hope I haven't
Hmm.
given too much away.
I don't think so.
Who was your favorite character in the Healing Stones?
Yeah, well, gee, I think I think Cynthia's friends, Jane and Rachel. Rachel because she's so quirky and awkward, but she's a really good, wholesome friend who's there for you. And Jean is actually based on an aunt of mine who is also
Oh,
Scottish.
uh-huh.
And so I talked to my cousin, and she told me a few things about it. That she used to be a nurse, and that she was very nurturing. And this woman was short and stout, and had freckles and red hair and the whole bit, and but still had the Scottish accent. So my cousin, Margaret, actually her name is, she was really thrilled, and she bought the book right away and read it, and she just really loved it. She took it on vacation with her.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so they both were. I like the spiritual aspect of June because she was like a wise woman. She was the
Mm.
older of the
Hmm.
three,
Yeah.
and she'd lived longer, and
Hmm.
she'd
Yeah.
had children, and she'd been a nurse, and she'd seen a lot, and so she understood a little bit more about people and about life. And Rachel was uh, you know, tall and kind of awkward, and particularly with people. But she was really genuine. So it was an I kind of mixture of people, and yet Cynthia, as soon as I picked the name, I just had this image of somebody classy and blonde hair and dressed as well. So you got these three people, and it's interesting. You put them together, and how are they going to be with each other? It's fun to see how they relate to each other.
Hmm.
One
Hmm.
of the
Yeah.
characters that I enjoyed the most was the busybody. There's one in every
Oh,
community.
Lavinia.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lavinia, yeah,
yeah, that thinks they run the show, and
yeah,
they're sticking their nose in everybody's business. And wasn't it Cordelia was her daughter,
yeah,
right?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I thought that part of the book was really good about Cordelia, how she finally stood for herself. That was good. There was a
That was
question here
really good.
about building tension or building suspense in the book, and I thought, oh, I just love that. I had a visual of her, Lavinia, like because there's always one, and they tend to come in the same shape. They wear the same outfits. Yeah, so it was the book was really interesting in that it dealt with some, serious topics, and yet there
Hmm.
was this little thing of humor for me
Hmm.
anyway, running beneath the surface. And yeah, yeah, I thought it was
Uh,
good.
Lav-
It was
Lavinia
really
was
good.
actually based on another relative.
Did she buy
Not
the
not
book?
mine though. It's an aunt of my husband, and she had like a jet black hair, and she had like circles here, like ruby red circles on her cheeks.
Of course.
And yeah, I think I might have improvised on the dress though, but I just imagine her, she's really too big for her clothes, and so she's too big for her world, she's a little tight-laced or whatever. But I think her character comes out of the fact that, her husband's gone, and she's got to take care of this daughter all by herself. And I think a part of her knows about her daughter, and that's why she's trying to protect her,
Hmm.
and the only way she knows how. And I think this is something I learned a long time ago about characters who are not nice. You have to love them too. And there has to be something redeeming about them. I mean, she
Oh,
loved
that's
her
interesting.
daughter. Yeah. So, yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But, you notice what happens with Lavinia later.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know if you noticed
Yes.
when
And
Jack got
it,
sick.
yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Ooh, that was interesting. She was actually very nice, wasn't she?
Yes, she was. And it just makes me think if you were writing that book for 4 years, you were just intimately involved with these characters.
Hmm.
Like you
Hmm.
you would spend your days with these people.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
in some ways we know them from the book,
Hmm.
but do you know more about them than is in the book?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
Because I
that's
do,
interesting.
a character outline, and so there's a lot of stuff that I don't use. But
Right.
it helps to get a sense of who they are in my head. So when I'm writing them, I will know. Like I know that Rachel is clumsy, so I have to do some things that are clumsy. And I thought that it would be interesting because she is a librarian. Like, and I used to work in a library, so I know librarians have little tidbits of information, and so because she's awkward, she uses that information to fill in conversations, to fill in the gaps and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of amusing that she did that, and that she was willing to get into anything with her friend Cynthia. It's kind of like Lucille Ball and Vivian
Ethel.
Vance. Yeah,
Ethel.
Yes,
Ethel.
Vivian Vance. Ethel. Lucy and
When they
Ethel.
get into something, yes. So yes, and that I think that brought some humor to the story too.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a
Mm-hmm.
question. Joanne, like you were saying earlier that this was by far your favorite of my three books. I would be interested to know why.
It was the easiest for me to follow. The
Okay.
the and maybe it was that I don't know, maybe I wasn't properly focused, but I had a hard time in the book I read first was the not the Stick Weavers, but the other one. I think
Oh,
I
Gift of the Loon?
read first, and I had a hard time keeping everybody in order because it felt like
Mm.
it bounced back and forth from here to here, and
Hmm.
maybe I wasn't focused enough when I was reading it to be able to follow it. But this story here just kind of flowed along.
Well,
I
the print
love
was a
this.
little larger on this one because I was very conscious of that because a lot of people, who have problems with their eyes or elderly people are not reading anymore because they can't read the print. So I made a conscious effort to make sure the print in this book was a little bit larger.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's large enough and sort of making it a large print book. I
Right.
don't know what I can do about that.
Oh, I thought it was just super comfortable.
Mm,
But I love the Stick Weavers too.
mhm.
I can't tell you much about it at the moment, but I just remember I enjoyed that book. Um, was that the one about Tom with Tom
Tom
Thompson in
Thompson.
it?
The Gift of the
Yeah,
Loon is about Tom Thompson. Yes, I
yeah,
really enjoyed writing that. That was
yeah.
another situation where we have like strong-willed Maggie hanging out with Tom, and they're clashing. Like she won't put up with anything. It's
Mm-hmm.
1911, and she don't take any guff.
Yeah.
So I really liked that, and that was fun to write those
Mm,
two. Once I got
yeah.
a sense of who Tom Thompson was, and I had to do that through reading his letters and get a sense of who he
Mm.
was. And I already knew a lot about him because I've admired him for a long time, and I knew his work and how he painted, and I'd seen his work. So I knew a lot. But when you take a step and you're writing about somebody famous like that, people already have preconceived ideas, so you're
Yeah.
going to disappoint somebody. But then I got to a point where, I got to just dive in and go for it and just have fun, which is what I did. And
Mhm.
speaking of Tom Thompson, I have a Tom Thompson book underneath my computer right now to make it a little bit lighter.
Well, he's very useful, isn't he?
What's that, Joanne?
He's very useful, isn't he?
Yes.
Propping you up, so to speak.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Well, congratulations, Gillian, because this is a great book to gift
Thank
um,
you.
to people. It just really an enjoyable read.
Oh,
And
thank you.
as were the Stick Weaver book, I love the title, and I probably
River
don't
of the
have.
Stick Wavers,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love that. I found the title intriguing. Yeah,
Ah, good.
as much the words were as intriguing as the visual of the
Hmm.
front of this book.
Yeah,
I thought that
yeah.
was
Mm.
really neat.
There's
Mm.
something I'd like to point out too, like about this book, because the topic's about a woman who can't have a child and how all of that turns out, it really relates to what was happening in the United States, with Roe versus Wade, women being able to make choices about their own bodies. which is very topical thing right now. So it does relate
Absolutely.
to nowadays. So that was, a big thing. I don't know if you picked up on that or not.
Mhm.
Well, and the other interesting thing is that more women today are choosing not to have children, and so they're making that choice. I have a niece whose friends, I think she has seven close friends, and none of them have had children, and
Mhm.
they're in their 40s. And I think, isn't that interesting?
By
Yes,
Um,
yes.
choice.
by
By
Yes,
choice,
choice.
I've noticed
absolutely
that
by choice.
myself. Yes, my daughter doesn't want to have children. She decided when she was 30, she hadn't felt that maternal urge, then it
Hmm.
wasn't going to happen. And she's 39 now, and people keep telling me like, "Oh, you never know. People have, don't give up." And you know, as much as I'd love to have a grandchild, I respect her choice. I think I would have
Absolutely.
been a great grandmother, but if I um, if I want to enjoy child, I have to borrow somebody else's,
That's right. You
or
know,
work at the hospital or something, in
that's
the
right.
in the baby ward. Hmm?
That's what my friend did. She got to that point where she knew she wasn't going to have children and she loved babies. And so
Hmm.
she went and worked in a neonatal unit. She would volunteer, once a week, and that kind of satisfied her, and she loved it. She absolutely loved it. And she never did
Well,
have her own children, but
Mhm.
that's something I did try to do here in Chatham, but it was right after COVID, and during COVID they
uh
weren't allowing people in, and they seemed to continue with that afterwards. So I never got that
yeah.
opportunity, unfortunately, because I would have loved
Mhm.
that. That would have been so nice. Maybe
Mhm.
I should try again. Maybe they changed their minds. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, I think you should ask some of your friends who have grandchildren to share them.
Well, I'd have to, go out to Connecticut or, or Calgary,
Well,
and
plan your
yeah, I don't
next
think
trip
some of
where,
them want to share them. They
well,
want
and
them all to themselves.
I don't think that's fair because kids are so much fun.
Yes, yes,
Share them,
I
share
agree.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, Jillian, I wanted to ask, you mentioned that, you talked to your guidance counselor about it and there was no real recommendation there. And then you did the correspondence course. Who are the people in your life who have really impacted your writing and this path for you?
Hmm. Whew. Well, I think when I was taking the correspondence course, the response I got for the actual writing I did was very encouraging. Like that told me that I was on the right path. And then
Mm,
when I started writing, um, a girlfriend of mine, Helen Tyndall, she's gone now, but she always believed in me. And actually, she is the one who introduced me to the French River, which became River of the Stick Waver. She had a cottage there. And so I finally got to go to the French River and I fell in love with it and I still love it. And
mm,
that was because of her and the cottage they have and the location and everything. So that gave me a basis. But my son has always been really helpful with my writing. He's the one I always
mhm,
go to when I'm stuck. He knows my
mhm,
books quite intimately. I don't know if it's
mhm.
going to be the same with the next one because he's pretty busy right now. But now I have other writer friends who are very encouraging as well. And we help each other. So there
Oh,
are
that's
lots
good.
of different people.
That's good. Good.
Hmm.
What advice would you
Would
give to people who want to write, who feel like, oh, I've got a book inside of me? Because it's really interesting. A lot of people say that, but they don't necessarily write.
Yes, I don't think a lot of people realize how much work it is. They think they're
Right,
gonna, write a book, just get like just have a first draft and say, I'm done. That's it. I'm gonna
right.
publish it. Um, but I've been asked this before, and I'll give you the same response because I think it's true. I think you should take some courses. You need to know what you're
Mm,
doing, what needs to come. That helped me tremendously. If I didn't have that, I'd probably be writing without, what did they say, show don't tell, I would be spend more time telling than showing. So there's just so many nuances involved in writing fiction that you
Mm,
need to know all the different elements that need to go into it. So, and there's lots of opportunities to take courses. There's lots of free tutorials online. There are books. The Writer Friends, if you have it. So I know my friend Samantha is writing a book. She's the one who did the
hmm
painted the cover of my The Healing Stones. She's learning a lot by hanging out with me and coming to all the different writing events that I go to and talking to other writers. So she's learning a lot that way. Of course, she's done a lot of reading herself too.
hmm
So she has a sense and read a lot. So, there's so many different
mm,
ways to write a book. It's not just this is how you do it. You do this, this, and this, and this. No, you get the basics and then you adjust it. And you learn to do it. Through reading of the different types of fiction and how, some people will be all about character, some people are about story, some people are
mm.
about plays. There's actually been a book written and has no punctuation in. I don't
Right.
know how you
That's
read
right.
that
I've
one.
read it.
And it
I've
became
read it.
an award winner, upper award
Hmm
winner. And how do you read a book like that? I wouldn't recommend that at this point. But I think,
Yeah, not for a new writer, but it was a very good book. Once you got past the no punctuation, it was like I I can't even remember the name of it, but I remember the experience. I was mortified. I thought, what? But then once I got into the flow of the book, it was a great book. It was a
interesting.
great book. Yeah, I would
Yeah,
recommend the
I've
book
seen
if I
it.
could remember.
I've seen something sometime where somebody will put something, I saw something online and it had, like you have the word, you have all the right letters, but they're in different order. And yet you could still read it because your mind fills in the
That's right.
blanks. And
That's
so
right.
it seems that's what you have to do, or what happens when you are reading a book that has no punctuation. You put them in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a tricky business, punctuation, because people have different ideas about how it's going to be. Some people feel that punctuation gets in the way of the story, that slows it down. I like to do things correctly, but I get what they're saying. But they say the best way to get your punctuation right is to read out loud. So that
Right.
way you know where the pauses
Yeah.
are. I had the computer read to me and I got a sense of it, but it didn't do it completely for me. I think I'm gonna have to read the next one out loud. See if I have better luck.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah. I think it was at the beginning of the year I read Sally Rooney's Intermezzo, hers, and there was another Irish writer that there was no punctuation. It was kind of like this stream of thought.
yes.
But I read one earlier, like before this was a little bit more acceptable. But it's like you're just kind of thinking, and when we're thinking, we don't punctuate, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just these thoughts kind of going
Stream
through
of
our head.
thought,
But
like it's really hard to read because you're just saying gonna get lost, which I suppose is the point, which what happens with stream of thought, right? You kind of spiral down, and you don't know where you started. And you just have to, sometimes you just have to go with it. And just, and you find out afterwards that you get a general sense of what everything is about.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as you're not grabbing onto the details in the same way, I don't think,
Yes,
as you would with
yes,
everything punctuated according to
yes,
the rules. Yeah, it's
yes,
it's
yes.
an interesting way to read and to write as well.
Well,
Yeah.
it's interesting too because punctuation changes what something means. If there's no
Oh, absolutely.
punctuation, it can really throw you, you have to have a look, go back and read that over. What is she really trying to say here?
So, you know that I teach Chinese kids English. Well, forget the punctuation because sometimes they'll just read the whole paragraph right through, and I'm like, okay, oh, what's this about? And I have to stop them and get them to breathe at a period and kind of, you know, jump up at this comma so they know that okay, there's a little bit of space in here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, wasn't
Interesting.
there a book? It was called Eat Eat Shoots and Eat Shoots and oh, I forget what it was, but it was about punctuation, and it was really about a panda bear. It eats shoots off the bamboo tree, but it was eat comma shoot, and I don't know what the last word was, but with that comma, it just changed the whole meaning. So yeah, punctuation. I'm more in agreement with punctuation than not.
Yeah.
Okay, any last questions, Joanne?
No, well, no, I don't think so. A couple of questions. When you launched your third book, did it cause your first and second book to sell also?
Yes, it did. Absolutely,
Yeah.
Mm,
yes. Yeah, what I'm finding is that, when I give a talk, people get a real sense of who I am and what my books are about and what I'm trying to do. And I am told that I draw them in with my talk.
mm,
So it occurred to me that I think I'd like to, well, I would. I'd like to do more talking in the new year, more talks. And maybe with book clubs or women's groups or something. That's something I'm going to look into because when you're at a venue and somebody comes over, how do you sell your book in, a minute or two? They don't get
right,
a
you
sense of who
can't.
you are and, what your book's about, and all that's really involved in it and what you're trying to accomplish. So, um, yeah, so I think talking, um, I do a lot better. I sell more books. Like I did a talk at one of the churches in Windsor, and there were only like 9 ladies then. I sold 18 books, and they were buying them in groups. They can all three at the same
Great,
time. I know
great.
it was wonderful. So obviously you got to find out who your audience is, and this was a group that met once a month, and they had an author come and talk. So they were readers.
Cool.
And then when you tell them what you're writing about, they're interested and they
Mhm.
just want to read all your books, and it's wonderful. And something else that's been really nice with the venues I've been doing, a lot of people, I go to the same venues sometimes, and people who bought the other two see the new one, they don't care to look at it, they just pick it up and they want it. And that's
Right,
very
Yeah.
right.
satisfying
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
obviously you've done a good job and with the
Mhm.
first two they want to read the next one.
Yeah.
That's
So,
great.
and I've
Yeah.
also been told that my characters are like friends to people who are reading about them, like people that they know that they can relate to, and that's really kind of nice too. And
Good.
Hmm.
also my first book in particular, I've been told that there's a lot of me in that, which is true. I think that Grace is very much like me, Grace Irwin. It's very much like I am. But my second one, I tried really hard to have somebody completely different than I am. But
Well,
and something else too is I had an interview with Veronique Mandel, and she's really likes my characters. They're also interesting, she said, and so that's really nice. I enjoy writing different characters. Um, then they're not, perfect. And, people we can relate to
Yeah.
and how they interact with other people. So it's fun writing characters. And, it's really nice of Veronique to mention that they're interesting.
well,
Good.
I thought of you when I was reading the Healing Stones because Cynthia is an author, and I thought, oh, isn't this interesting? You've got an author in here, and
Yes, yes.
she's up to some adventures, and she incorporates her adventures in her books as you do. So,
Yes, yeah, yeah, that's true. Cynthia is like me. Well, actually, when I first wrote this book, my main character was going to be Rachel, this
oh, was
quirky
it?
character, yes. And
Mhm.
so I started thinking, oh, who's going to befriend this odd little person that, people kind of tread on all the time? And so I came up with a vicar's wife. I thought, maybe not all vicar's wives are nice, but I assumed they are, kind. and and get to meet all different kinds of people. So I wrote Cynthia and introduced her, and and then they get to meet, and then Cynthia started to take over the story. And so I decided to let her. See, it wasn't like Cynthia, oh, and she can't have a child. That came later after I introduced her. So
That's
Rachel ended
interesting.
up becoming the
Yeah.
sidekick. And again,
Yeah.
this is where you have to trust the creative process.
Yeah.
It
Yes,
wants you to take you somewhere, so you go. You can't mold
exactly.
it. It's a
Yeah,
bit like life, isn't it? Like sometimes you really do have to go with the flow. You can't,
yeah,
well, once you release your hold, and things unfold. And
Yeah.
writing is like that too, for
Yeah.
me anyway.
yeah. And yeah, it's so interesting for me to think about the character takes on a life of its own. Like as you were writing, it sounds like Cynthia took on a life of her own and almost like she demanded to be the main character. And Rachel said, "Okay, I'll just back off and I'll let
Exactly,
Cynthia take
yes.
that position." Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. Uh-huh. Yeah,
It's good.
Yes. So
It's
there's
great.
energy there in those characters. There's an energy in those characters.
absolutely, yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Very cool. Very
Good.
cool. Okay, well, thanks, Gillian. This has just been absolutely great.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, yeah, wonderful.
And so
And
obviously people can buy your book on Amazon, or
That's
they
right.
can follow you and go to one of your presentations and pick the books up there, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay,
and
great.
I should know this, but do you have a website, Gillian?
No, I used to have one, but then it started to fall apart, and it was too much money to fix it. And I wasn't getting a lot of benefit out of one, so I started a blog, and I write blog posts on there,
Yeah.
and I also put these talks that we do on there as well if people want to see them. So I kind of use my blog for as a website. And then, of
Okay.
course, I use Facebook to advertise where I'm going to be and things like that. And all my writer friends, they share, so it kind of gets the word out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No.
Mm, okay.
Yeah.
Might
I'm
want to
not
think
sure what
about
I
that.
do with a YouTube channel.
Well, you could record your talks and put them on the YouTube channel.
That's something to think about for the new year.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, I am planning on putting in a newsletter in the new year too. So I've been collecting email addresses of, from my
Good,
readers, so they'll know where I
good.
am. So I think that'll be really helpful. But yeah, a YouTube channel. I could talk
Yeah,
about writing on that too if I wanted to, couldn't
Sure.
I?
Yes, you
absolutely.
could.
Absolutely. Yes, you
Yeah,
could.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'll have to look into
yeah.
that.
So what we can do for our listeners is we will put a link, your email or whatever link you would like on this recording at the end so that they can contact you as well as where they can find the book. So I'll get that information from you.
Great.
Yeah,
Super.
Okay?
and, and
Yeah,
especially if any book clubs out there looking for a speaker.
Hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, I would love
Perfect.
Okay.
to do more of that in the new year. I
Perfect.
enjoy it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for this
Okay.
opportunity to talk about my book and for you guys to be so supportive.
It
So I
was
can add you
fabulous.
to my list of people who have made a difference in my writing life.
Ah,
Thank you. And I just want to say thanks to our listeners for joining us today. I hope that you all go out and get Gillian's book and the first two books as well, and the one that we've talked about today, the Healing Stones, but also the Gift of the Loon and the okay, why is it going
River
on in my
of the
head?
Stick Wavers.
Yes. So we will give you the link so that you can get those. So until next time, embrace the journey and be practical with your wisdom.